Is already recording? All
One,
right.
2, 3, let's roll.
Sync.
Action.
Hello and welcome to everyone to a new episode of a one of its kind, CEOs of the Future. Today we have a special guest. He's called Mike Adams. He has 25,000 followers on LinkedIn. He is the CEO of Introstars. He's been to more than 1,000 networking events in the past 8 years. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Montessero, so good to see you. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you all. Happy to join you.
We're so happy to have you here today. And well, we want to kickstart this podcast by asking you, is there a time in your childhood when you could look back and think, this is the reason why I'm sitting here and why?
Thanks for the question. My childhood was very different from where I am today. As a kid, I was a super nerd. I was very introverted. I used to be in front of a computer screen since I'm 7 years old, programming video games on the Commodore 64. And I always thought my whole life would be about being behind a computer screen, programming video games so I didn't have to talk to anyone. And that's what I thought as a kid. And I was excited. I love video games. I love programming. It was all about math and science. And then my life went in a very, very different direction, which is very unexpected. When I was 15 years old, one of my best friends was doing theater while being in school. And he broke his leg, and he asked me, if I could replace him for that theater play in school. And I had zero experience in theater. I was very shy and nervous. I was very introverted. But since he was my best friend, I said, okay, I'll do it. And so they put me on this super accelerated theater course. And in 2 weeks, I had to learn 20 pages of monologue. And I had to wear tights in front of an audience of 300 people. And I did it, and I loved it. I enjoyed the energy of the audience, of the public. I felt, wow, this is my calling. And then I joined the school's theater group and started going on tour with the school on doing theater plays all over Belgium, where I was based. Yeah. And I just loved the energy of the public. And so I realized maybe I'm not that introverted after all. And I started slowly developing my public speaking skills. And then when I was 18 years old, as a student, I joined Apple working at their support center. And then Apple was looking for people to demonstrate their products at trade shows, at the book fair and lots of other trade shows. So I became a demonstrator for Apple, talking in front of hundreds of people about the latest Apple products. This was in the 90s when Apple was not so popular back then. And you know what? I really loved it. And someone from Apple saw me in action and said, you're the best demonstrator I've ever seen. Come and work for us in our biggest Apple retail store. And I became an Apple consultant, speaking to hundreds of people, evangelizing Apple technology. I became super passionate about it. And then I realized, I'm much better at talking than actually programming video games. And then I studied computer science in university and absolutely hated it. But I loved all the other classes like business, economics, everything that had to do with business more than actual computer science. And so I realized my whole life was going to change from being a computer programmer in front of a screen all day, and instead of that, pivoting to being a professional presenter and professional speaker at loads of events. And then I joined a tech company called Compaq, which was then bought by HP. I was a product manager working on all their business products, including their first ever pocket device called the iPad Pocket PC. This was the beginning of the 2000s. And I had to present that product at loads and loads of trade shows, talking to hundreds of people in front of me to really talk about this new generation of mobile devices. And I got super excited doing this, and everyone said I was a good presenter, so I just kept it on and on and on. And after that, my whole career really veered into business and marketing and sales. And so that's how I ended up where I am today, right now, sitting in front of you, speaking about business connections, business introductions, introducing people to each other, speaking at large conferences in front of hundreds of people, and trying to inspire people around me. So again, my life took me in a very different direction than what I thought I would do when I was a small kid.
Clearly.
Amazing. It seems like you have a big background in communication and sales in a way. What would be one of the main things that you learned in this journey? Since it's really interesting that you thought that you were an introvert, and then you discovered by this experience that you actually have a part of you that is extroverted in a way as well.
It's all about energy. When you speak to other people, you get energized. Every positive conversation gives you more energy to go out and speak to even more people. It's kind of a virtuous circle. And that's really the definition of an extrovert. An extrovert is someone who gets energy by talking to other people, whereas an introvert gets exhausted talking to other people and want to kind of shrivel up in a little ball and not talk to anyone or to few people, right? And so again, I think I'm still an introvert at heart, but I realize I'm probably 72% extrovert. And I really get energy by talking to people. And this obviously fits directly into networking events. When I go to networking events, the more people I talk to, the more energy I get from the crowd by talking to people. And so really that's where it's at. That's where I discovered that I was probably a bit of an extrovert too, by just getting energy by talking to people.
Monta in the introduction mentioned more than 1,000 networking events. How do you choose them? And how do you have the time to go to all these networking events?
So obviously going to lots of networking events, at first you kind of try different things and see what works for you. Mm-hmm. So initially I was trying to go to as many different types of networking events as possible just to meet different types of people. So I went to some events just for startup founders where I met lots and lots of entrepreneurs with lots of optimism and positive energy, wanted to change the world. And I love that energy, I love that passion. But then for my job, this was 8 years ago, I was selling AV solutions, audiovisual solutions for meeting rooms in business offices. So for that job, my networking was really in commercial real estate. Companies relocating to new offices, companies doing office fit outs, office design, office furniture, office IT. And so that's a very different type of networking event where you really meet people who are from a specific industry, again, commercial real estate. And there I really met lots of people who are professional networkers as well, where we kind of we're all trying to get information about companies relocating to new offices and sharing that information between us. So that's a very different type of networking event. Then I also went to networking events for accountants, lawyers, for independents, like creative people. Mm-hmm. And then I went to events for facilities managers. And I basically tried so many different industries to try to meet interesting people and see how we can help each other. And the reality is, every single type of networking event can have value because human beings are not in a box. If you're at a facilities managers event, these facilities managers also are connected to people in different industries. Some of their family members or people they went to school with might be in a completely different industry, in pharma, in healthcare, in entrepreneurship. And so really, any networking event you go to, even if it's for a specific industry, you're going to end up meeting people who are connected to other industries as well. So you always get value, you always build your network, and you always meet interesting people no matter where you go. So to answer your question now, how do I choose networking events to go to right now today? I'm on lots and lots of email distribution lists for events, such as Eventbrite, such as Luma, such as Startup Grind, such as like all these different organizations. And they send me newsletters every week telling me about all their latest events. And I just pick a few, which I think will be interesting. But there's a bit of a randomness to it, to be honest. When you go to one networking event, you meet interesting people, have a great conversation, and they will recommend another event. Then you go to that other event, you meet other people who are going to recommend another event. And you've got this snowball effect where one event leads to another. And so right now, I'm on like 30 email newsletters about events in London. So yeah, I don't have a clear strategy to choose those events. I kind of just look through them and see which one sound vaguely interesting. But if you're starting from scratch and you've never been to a networking event before and you don't know where to go, the obvious place to go is Eventbrite, which has pretty much 90% of every event in London is listed on there. Just do a quick search about your industry or the type of events you want to go to, and you're going to find loads of events on there. The other competitor to Eventbrite is called Luma, Lu.ma, and they also send a weekly email newsletter with all their events in London. So that's a really good resource as well. And then when you go to an event, just talk to people there. Say, hey, can you recommend another event for me? And they will tell you. And then that's how you start that snowball effect.
On the other hand, apart from Luma and Eventbrite, you can find OnlyFounders that has a list of all of London's best networking events.
Yeah.
But from coming to all of these networking events, what have you learned from them?
Well, when I speak to people at networking events, I'm always trying to understand their pain points. What is the number one challenge keeping them up at night? What are they trying to achieve? And conversations usually revolve around lead generation and sales. I think 80% of people who go to networking events are looking for introductions to potential clients or prospects or investors or business partners. And that's a very common theme. The reason people go to networking events is to meet other people. So by definition, they are looking to meet other people to help them in their business. And most commonly, it's about finding clients or prospects they want to sell something to. And so really, every conversation I have at networking events, I'm trying to figure out who could I introduce to that person to make them more successful? So when I meet a new person in a big room of people, I'm working the room, I usually ask them, how could I help you? How could I make you more successful? Who could I introduce to you? What's your number one pain point? These are the typical questions I would ask. And so I've really realized over years and years of doing this, speaking to tens of thousands of people, that everyone's looking for introductions. And so the best way you can help other people is making some good introductions.
The reason why I called you today, because from some conversations that you had before, I've learned a lot of things from you, and you seem to be a super networker. And for someone who is wanting to become a really good networker and want to perform well, let's say, at networking events, what would you give them as tips? I'm thinking about some stuff that you told me, for example, such as you shouldn't come with a salesperson mindset, for example, and diving deeper into, for example, the psychology behind communicating with people and connecting with people and bonding together as well.
Observe quite a lot when you go to a networking event. You meet lots of people who are trying to sell you something. You meet an accountant saying, hey, do you need an accountant? Can I sell you my services? You meet a lawyer. Hey, are you looking for a lawyer? Can I sell you my legal services? Hey, I work in marketing. Do you want to buy my marketing services? And so that mindset when people go to networking events trying to sell you their service is the wrong mindset. That will always fail. Because the goal of a networking event is not to buy a bunch of services from other people or for you to sell your services. That's never going to work because people can smell that. You're trying to sell them something and they go into their defensive mode and try to run away as soon as they can. So instead of that, the important mindset to have is not to try to sell anything, but try to help other people. So if you go to a networking event, again, the questions you should ask is, how can I help you? What could I do to make you more successful? What introductions can I send to you? And that will be a complete different type of conversation than you trying to sell something to someone else. Because realistically, you're rarely going to meet customers at networking events, whatever you're selling. Typically, you're going to meet people who can open doors to other customers, introducers who can introduce you to other customers. So that's really what you should go with in terms of mindset, helping others, trying to have that giving mindset. And what you're going to get in exchange for that is build relationships and trusts and friendship even, and business partnerships. So really that's the whole mindset you should have. So I think that's the big one. The mindset is probably number one thing you have to focus on when you go to a networking event. Don't try to sell, try to help, try to listen, and try to be as generous as you possibly can. The second thing, which I think is really important, when you go to a networking event, you're going to get the same question 50 times, which is, what do you do? Right? Everyone is going to ask you, what do you do? Which is a normal question to ask at a networking event. So your answer to that question should not be random. You should think about the words you're going to say and the answer you're going to give every single time. And so first of all, the answer you give must be very short. I would say less than 7 seconds. The reason for that is I've been to so many networking events where people start speaking about them for like 3 minutes and people are completely bored off their face. And this happens all the time. You don't want to listen to someone 3 minutes before you even understand if there's any way you can work together or help each other. So really, when someone asks you, what do you do? Make sure your answer is less than 7 seconds. This is super important. And of course, they can ask you follow-up questions and you can expand after that, obviously. But your initial answer should be really short, precise, concise. Second of all, make sure your answer is adapted to the person asking that question. So for example, if you meet a lawyer and he's asking, hey, what do? You should answer that question for lawyers, saying, hey, I help lawyers achieve this and this. Or I help, if you talk to a doctor, hey, I work with the NHS or doctors to do this and this. If you speak to a startup founders, hey, I work with startup founders doing this and this. So always try to adjust your answer to the other person. Now, of course, you can only do that if you already know who they are and what they do. So try to find out what they do before you answer what you do. Right? So you can adjust your answer every single time. And then, I think play with it. Try to maybe memorize a few different answers about what you do and try it on different people and see how they react. So see which one is the most successful in terms of engaging the person you're talking to. So imagine you work as a lawyer and someone asks you, what do you do? Instead of saying, I'm a lawyer, say, I help people earn shitloads of money from lawsuits or whatever. Try to find a funny way to say it, which is not the standard way you'd say it, right? So always try to find an interesting way to present yourself, and that will engage a conversation. So that's my second tip. My third tip is basic psychology. When you're at a networking event, you're trying to get an engaging conversation with people. You're trying to get them interested to talk to you. And that's really the same as if you're trying to pick up someone at a bar, right? You're trying to pick someone at the bar. The last thing you want to be is be boring. That's the last thing you want to do. So you have to be funny, engaging. You have to be a good listener. So these are basic psychology skills. And when you're at the business networking events, those skills are as important as in a bar or a club you're trying to pick up someone. It's exactly the same. You need to get them engaged, interested. And so always smile, always have a positive mindset. Don't complain, be optimistic, be positive. No, these are things that are really going to stimulate people to speak to you. So really, back to basic psychology, try to seduce the other person because really it's all about seduction. You know, when you talk to other people, you're trying to seduce them, not to fall in love with you, but to enjoy the conversation, to enjoy spending time with you.
I'm enjoying
this
this conversation.
Right?
I'm definitely enjoying this conversation. We're only at the beginning, but you picked up on a really important point where you mentioned you're creating connections between people, you're bonding with people. And the question that comes in here, because in the last 6 months with OnlyFounders, we've been to more than 100 networking events. We haven't been to 1,000 yet, but we've been to more than 100 networking events. And every time we go there, we meet like a bunch of people. But how do you keep track of these people? How do you create these connections after all? How do you remember these thousands and thousands of people and keep track of them?
Yeah. So to be honest, some people are very organized about it, where they use some kind of CRM system, like a spreadsheet or an app, where they write a little note about everyone they met, so they remember who is what and how they met them. And that's fine. That's a great method. I'm not doing that myself, but I think that is a good thing to do. You could use Apple Notes. You can use your contacts app on your phone to add some comment on everyone you meet. Another way to do it, which is what I prefer to do, is try to connect with everyone you meet on LinkedIn. And then the next day, send a quick, short follow-up message to everyone you met saying, hey, it was great to meet you at that event. Let me know if there's any introduction I could do for you. And try to maybe write a few words about what you talked about. So if they spoke about, their favorite vacation or the latest movie they saw, just put that in your LinkedIn message. Hey, I love talking to you about this topic, just so you remind them what you talked about. And then when I go back to my LinkedIn 2 years later, I can go back to my messages on LinkedIn with that person. I remember what I chatted with them 2 years ago, because that's kind of where my notes are. So I think that is the best method. Add everyone on LinkedIn and then write them a quick message to thank them for meeting you. You enjoyed the conversation, quick reminder about what you talked about, and asking them how you can help them. Again, super important. Always ask them, how can I help you? That is super, super important. So people see that you bring value to them and they want to follow up with you. I think that's the best thing to do, really. And if you don't remember who you connected with, just the next day, if you go to your LinkedIn app and click on connections, you can see in order of most recently added, and you can see the last 10 people you added. So then it's easy to remember who you connected with the night before, even if you had a few too many drinks. Yeah.
It happens.
Yes.
So I think we've talked a lot about like networking events in general, but I want to know, how is it that you approach people? Because sometimes I know for my experience that I don't like approaching people. I stand back a little bit, or if I'm talking, then I get like shy. So I want to know, what tips could you give to people to like break the ice?
Yeah, and to be honest, it's not just you. I think everyone has that apprehension. If you go to a room full of people and everyone's talking to each other, how do you jump into a group of people to introduce yourself? Because you're afraid you're going to interrupt them. You're afraid they don't really want to talk to you. You're afraid you're going to, do something they don't want to hear or whatever. So, I mean, that's human psychology. But the good news is, there's very good news, that everyone who goes to a networking event goes there to meet other people. So that means you're never going to bother someone because they're there to meet other people. That's literally the reason they're there. When you go to a bar and try to pick up someone, that's a bit different because they might be with their friends. Maybe they're not there to meet people. But when you're at a networking event, they're really there to meet people. So don't be afraid to interrupt other people. Don't be afraid to jump onto someone because that's the reason they're there, right? So I think that's the number one thing is your mindset thinking. You're never going to bother anyone because they actually want to talk to you. So then, obviously, when you're in a room full of people, some people are already talking with each other in small groups, and some people are all by themselves. And so it's much easier to talk to someone who's all by themselves than to talk into a group of people and kind of insert yourself. So my tip, that's what I do usually. I go to the bar to order a drink, not always alcoholic. And if someone is at the bar next to you and they're about to order a drink or they're ordering a drink just before you or just after you, that's the perfect place and time to ask them, hey, what do you think of this event? Oh, what drink are you ordering? Like, you start that conversation with the person next to you at the bar. That's what I usually do. Or if there's no bar, you already have a drink in your hand, go and speak to people who are all by themselves, because that's much easier to go to them. And the obvious question to ask them is, hey, what do you think of this event? Oh, have you met anyone interesting tonight? Oh, is there anyone I could introduce you tonight, right? So again, you start a conversation by already trying to help them, right? Instead of trying to get something from them, you're trying to help them. Say, hey, is there anyone you'd like to meet tonight? Could I help you, right? Go with that mindset to talk to someone. Now, imagine you go to a networking event and everyone is already talking in small groups. There's no one all by themselves. So then you have to join a group of people. You have to insert yourself in a group of people. It might be a bit nerve-wracking, but believe me, it's not. It's all great. The way I usually do it is using my over-the-top American side. Say, hey, boys and girls. And I just jump into a group and speak really loud to make myself noticed. I'm not saying you should do that, but that's one technique, right? Some people do it the opposite way. They kind of sneak super discreetly in the group and start listening. For me, that is a bit creepy, to be honest, but I see it all the time, so it's kind of okay. And so when I see people, imagine I'm talking to someone, and someone joins us sneakily and tries to join our group without saying hello, just kind of trying to join in. I literally stop my conversation and say, hey, welcome to the group, come and join us. So I try to make them inclusive because I want to make it easy for other people to join us. But not everyone does that, of course. And so again, there's no obvious way. I would say instead of being creepy and join in without saying a word, I would literally come and interrupt, say, hey, can I join you? Just say it like that. And most people at a networking event, again, are open to talk to you. So they'll be happy to say, sure, come and join us. It'll be fine, right? But yeah, it does take a bit of nerve, I would say, to interrupt a group, but just have to do it. And the more you practice, the less nerve-wracking it's going to be. So don't be afraid to interrupt people, jump into groups of people, say, hey, can I join you guys and girls? That's it. That's my best recommendation.
Okay. I might try to do that next time.
Yeah.
Not sneaking in, silently. I get the side eye, And for me, I want to know how you manage your time around to go to, 5, 6, 7 networking events, because it's not like you're not doing anything all day. So I want to know how you manage your time around that.
Yeah, so I typically try to meet people one-to-one during the day. So obviously as a founder and CEO of my startup, Introstars, I spend most of my time working on growth for the startup. So I speak to users one by one. I interview people. I go for coffee with people I've met at networking events earlier. I work on my LinkedIn a lot. I post stuff on LinkedIn. I work on my marketing strategy. I work on all of that. And so I focus on networking events mostly in the evening. So usually during the day, I'm meeting people one-to-one or doing my social media or my email follow-up, etc. And then in the evening, starting from 6 p.m., that's where I start wearing my networking hat on. And I go to a networking event at 6. And sometimes I go to 2 or 3 events in one evening. So one event at 6, one at 7, one at 8, for example. Not every night. Some nights I only have 1 event. Sometimes I've got 3, sometimes 2. Depends. So usually, I know there are some networking events during the day as well. Some are lunch events, some are breakfast events. I do some of those sometimes. I did a networking breakfast literally 3 days ago. So sometimes I do those, but those are more rare. I'd say that's maybe once per month or something. A networking breakfast or lunch. Most days I do evening events. So to manage my time, as I said, during the day it's mostly one-to-ones. Evenings are more networking. That's how I do it myself. And usually everyone I met at that networking event in the evening, the next morning I will follow up with each one of them. As I said, send a quick message on LinkedIn. And some of them I will say, hey, do you want to go for coffee in the next couple of days? And that's how I kind of line up all my one-to-ones for the next couple of weeks. So that's my way of doing it. Again, there's no perfect formula. That's what works for me.
I've met you in more than 3, 4, 5 networking events. We've never been to a coffee. That's not good.
Well, we're doing a podcast now, so that's even better, right?
You talked about Introstars, and I think we mentioned it at least twice or 3 times around the podcast. So I guess the public, and also I want to know, what's Introstars? Like, what is this that you're working in?
Yeah, so when I was a professional networker 7, 8 years ago, I used to go to 15 networking events a week, 3 events a day, drinking way too much red wine, talking to random strangers, talking to people in every single industry. And every conversation I had was always about how can I help you? How can I help you be more successful? And as I said before, everyone kept saying, I need an introduction. Can you introduce me to a potential client, a prospect, a business partner, an investor? And so I realized there's so much value in business introductions. When you introduce two people to each other, you create an opportunity to have a large business deal being closed by those two people. And so I met lots of people who are happy to pay for a business introduction, who are happy to pay thousands of pounds for a closed deal if you made that introduction. So this was 7-8 years ago. I made that realization that there's so much value in those business introductions. And some people are professional introducers who are earning money by introducing people to each other. So the issue I found, the problem I was trying to solve back then, was that lots of these paid referral opportunities were under the table, just a quick email, kind of random introducer agreements, some hidden web pages on some obscure websites where people would pay for introductions. But there was no proper platform for an introducer to find all these opportunities to make money when introducing people. And so that's when I had an epiphany to build the first ever platform for high value paid business introductions. And that's how Introstars was born. So Introstars is really the first platform, online platform, where you can see how much money people are ready to pay for a business introduction, for you to browse these opportunities and then make an introduction to get paid a few £1,000s per introduction. So I started working on this idea 7 years ago, but really full-time since April last year. And I just launched my pilot in London in November 2023. And since then, it's really taken off. We have more than 600 people signed up, and it's growing every single day. So by the time you listen to this podcast, might be a few thousand. It's growing super fast. We just started making revenue. So it's super exciting. It's really revolutionizing lead generation for millions of small businesses trying to land large clients. And it's also revolutionizing the world of business introductions, where introducers and matchmakers and super connectors can monetize their LinkedIn network and make a lot of money by just introducing people to each other. So that's what it is. I'm super excited. I think this can grow into $1 billion unicorn. It can disrupt lead generation all over the world for millions of companies and help millions of people make a lot of money by introducing people. So I'm really excited. I think it's really a great startup to help people connect the dots, connect people, and actually monetize what they already have, which is their connections. So can't wait to have more people on the platform. I encourage everyone to check it out, introstars.com. It's free to sign up, so you can already start signing up right now and check it out and see how much money you can make.
But I'm listening right now, I'm really amazed by your vocabulary, your speech, your communication style. And obviously you've been part of sales, and you talked a lot about how to pitch right the idea, how to pitch it depending on the audience that you're having right now. What would you say to like early stage entrepreneurs, to startups who don't know how to pitch their idea in the first place? What would you give as tips for people, let's say, who were introverted before and who are trying to explore more the entrepreneurial journey and the startup scene, and they need to communicate, they need to choose the right words and communicate right with people?
Lots of startup founders come from more a technical background or don't have much experience in business and don't have a great way to present their problem or idea. And I think, again, it's coming down to that 7-second pitch. A startup founder should be able to explain their entire concept in 7 seconds or less. And in those 7 seconds, the first thing you should focus on is the problem you're solving. That's the first thing you should talk about. Then the target audience, and then your solution. And what I hear a lot is startup founders do the opposite. They start to talk about their product, what it does, and that's a big mistake because then you haven't engaged with your audience yet. So start with the problem you're solving, who your audience is, and then your solution, and try to do that in less than 7 seconds. I think that's really my number one tip for startup founders. If they want to pitch to someone they just meet at a networking event, or even if they reach out to an investor, their email should be super short, saying, hey, hello investor, this is the problem I'm solving, this is my target audience, this is how I'm solving it. So that's really, I think, the best way to describe, to pitch a startup, instead of starting by saying, hey, this is what we do. I think that's a mistake, right? Don't start talking about what you do, start talking about what you're solving, who is it for, and then what you do, right? I think that's my number one advice. And then some people, when they present at an event, let's say they've got a PowerPoint slide deck, and they're trying to present PowerPoint slides in front of investors or potential partners, Most PowerPoint slide decks I've seen in my life are really boring and really bad and have way too many words and bullet points and paragraphs and text. And I think that's a big mistake. There's an expression in the corporate world, which is death by PowerPoint. And that expression says it all. It's because in the corporate world, we've been bored to death by so many PowerPoint slideshows, right? Now, I love PowerPoint. I think PowerPoint is one of the best tools in the world. The problem is people don't know how to use it. PowerPoint is not meant to write a bunch of bullet points with loads and loads of words you have to read. Instead of that, you should use PowerPoint slides only to show pictures or diagrams to engage the visual aspect of your presentation, but there should hardly be any words on your slides, maybe one word max. Because instead of that, people want to listen to the words coming out of your mouth as a presenter. So really, if I want to help startup founders, I would say remove all the words on your slides, focus on what you're saying, and then use your PowerPoint slide deck to show nice pictures and diagrams to either add humor or an extra dimension to what you're saying. And I think you'll be much more successful to convey your concept to an audience, whether it's investors, whether it's business partners, whether it's a potential customer. And that advice is not just for startup founders. I think it's for anyone who's doing any PowerPoint pitch in front of everyone in the world. So including when you're speaking to clients. So I think that's a great advice. Now, there is a specific format to actually do this. And I love it. It's called Pecha Kucha. So if you've never heard of this is really cool. So Pecha Kucha is spelled P-E-C-H-A-K-U-C-H-A. It was invented by a Japanese architect. And it's a specific format of presentation which guarantees you're not boring and guarantees you're going to grab your audience's attention. So how does it work? It's very simple. A Pecha Kucha is exactly 20 slides of exactly 20 seconds each with only one picture per slide and no words, or one word maximum. And so that means that your presentation is exactly 6 minutes and 40 seconds, 20 times 20 seconds, which is exactly enough time to grab people's attention without boring them with the details. It's also, since the slide changes every 20 seconds automatically with an automatic timer, it means people have to wake up every 20 seconds. They're always stimulated, so they cannot fall asleep. So this is really great. It's a wonderful format. So I highly encourage any startup founder to create a Pecha Kucha to pitch their product or their startup. And this will force them to be super rehearsed because they cannot blabber. They have to be exactly on time. So every slide is only 20 seconds. So it's a great exercise. I absolutely love it. So I highly recommend it.
The start of the conversation is really interesting, but also the end of the conversation and the end of the pitch is one of the really most important aspects as well, because that's where you're going to hook people and get them to go to the next stage.
Yeah.
I've heard in a couple of podcasts and by some investors that you shouldn't directly do the ask at the end, but more, depending on your audience, focus on the energy and on what are the values that you want to portray. How do you actually end the pitch? Because everyone talks about the beginning, you should get their attention, the 3 seconds attention spam and all these things, but almost no one talks about the last part. How do you end it?
I think the best way to end it is to give a summary of what you just presented. So the end should be a summary. Hey, for the last 7 minutes, we just talked about this, this, and this. So just remind them what you talked about. And then the last thing you should say is something exciting. Or again, I don't have like a very specific recommendation to make. Just make sure it's memorable, it's rehearsed, every word counts, and give a quick summary of what you just said.
Going back to, you said you started working on Introstars April last year, full time.
Full time, but I've been working on it for 7-8 years already in my head. Yeah.
So it's coming to like an entire year. And what is the biggest lesson you've learned in this year?
Well, the first initial couple of months working on a brand new startup from scratch is obviously recruiting a team, right? Recruiting people to join you in your mission. And that took me a couple of months, and I learned lots of lessons the hard way. I already had to get rid of 2 people who joined the team. So obviously that's been a very hard lesson. I wasted a lot of time and money. And so again, I think the biggest lesson learned here is spend a lot of time on recruitment. Don't hire someone quickly. Spend more time trying to find the ideal partner. And then don't be afraid to get rid of them quickly if things don't work out. Because very often, you got people who convince them they're amazing and they love your product, and they love your idea, and they're going to work great with you. And then you start working together, and after a couple of weeks, you realize that all the promises they've made don't come true, and you don't feel you're like on the same wavelength. And at first you think, oh, I'll give them a chance, I'll give them a chance, I'll give them a chance. But after a while, it's just not working out. So don't be afraid to get rid of them. It's fine. They're adults, they'll understand. So that's really, you have to hire slow, fire fast. I'm sure you've heard that advice a million times, but it's true. That was my experience. And then the second thing I've learned, again, I've just launched a product a couple of months ago in November 2023. The thing I've learned is try to understand your target audience as much as you can. Initially, I tried to focus on myself as a target audience, as a super connector, super introducer. But then when I created my marketing messaging and my website and all my social media posts, I was trying to appeal to everyone. I was trying to appeal to millions of people to become introducers, that anyone can be an introducer, everyone can earn money. And I realized that for many people, it doesn't really work simply because they don't really get it 100% and they're not comfortable making paid introductions. And so I've had to slightly pivot to instead refocus my messaging purely on people who network every day, who make introductions every day, super connectors, super introducers, because they already understand what it's all about, and I don't have to educate them so much. So really the lesson learned here is try to focus more on a more limited target market instead of trying to appeal to everyone. And that's, again, a lesson I've learned the last couple of months. But, great lesson. So, I'm very excited to now refocus my efforts and energy on those super connectors, super introducers, super networkers, super matchmakers. And those people absolutely love the product because that's really designed for them, right?
Pivoting and adapting is definitely one of the best qualities of a businessman and entrepreneur. And you talked about recruiting people, recruiting co-founders. How would you find the right person? And what are the set of, let's say, tests that you're going to pass the person through to decide if this is the right fit for you or not?
Yeah, so again, that's a big question about recruitment in general. Whether you're recruiting a co-founder or recruiting any employee, your first couple of employees or co-founders are critical to your success. And so it's really important to find people who have the same values as you and who have the same energy as you and who really believe in the vision. And most importantly, people you get along with. You're going to spend a lot of time with them. So you really have to like spending time with them. It should be like, you should have a smile on your face every time you speak to them. Or every time you book a meeting with them, you're going to should have a smile on your face because you're going to spend so much time with them. And so when I interviewed loads and loads of people, I was spending 75% of the interview on personality. Not on skills, not on experience, on personality. Like just trying to get to know them, see if we mesh together, if I like their energy, if I like their smile, if they're like, optimistic, if they're excited. For me, that is the most important thing because skills you can learn, experience you can learn, like other things you can learn. But really that personality is super critical. So I think that's number one. But then of course you do need to have people with experience and skills. Like they can't be too junior. As your first few hires, they need to already know what to do. You can't tell them everything. You can't hold their hand for everything because you already have so many things to do as a founder. So try to find people who have experience in your specific industry, who already have done what you're asking them to do. So you can kind of let them do their own thing. You don't have to be behind their back every 5 seconds. So that's really important. And how do you find these people? To be honest, it's very difficult. I don't have an easy answer to give you. I went on 9 different recruitment platforms. 9, that's a lot. Work with recruiters, headhunters, online recruitment platforms, offline recruitment platforms. I did a lot. LinkedIn, of course. I use everything. Use your network, obviously. So really, there's no easy answer. You have to try to shoot in all directions. I would say the best thing you could do is ask people you trust around you if they know someone. That's probably the easiest advice. And then for some roles, like some critical roles, instead of posting a job ad on a job board and hoping good candidates will come through, usually that doesn't work. Instead of that, you have to hunt. You have to find people on LinkedIn or other networks who have exactly the skills you're looking for, and you have to reach out to them and say, hey, do you want to quit your amazing job to come and work for me instead? I'm not saying this is easy, but I think that will be much more successful because you can retarget the people you want instead of just being passive and hoping good candidates will come through the other way, right? So really, that's the way to do it. To be honest, there's no easy way to do it. It's difficult. Every founder will tell you recruiting great people is very, very difficult. There's no easy way to do it, really.
What advice did you get early on in your career that you followed, and in hindsight, right now, you wish you have never followed, and why?
So advice I wish I'd not followed.
Yes. So let's say
Okay, that's an interesting one.
something that people used to tell you to do, but in hindsight now you reflect on it and you say, I should have not followed this.
I think most of the advice I got was to try to develop my communication skills. So really try to focus on your pitching skills. Any job you do, whatever your job is, even if you're a developer, even if you work in marketing or sales, you work in finance, whatever job you do, you're always going to have to present in front of other people, whether it's your boss, whether it's other colleagues, whether it's customers. So I think your presentation skills are helpful in every step of your career. No matter what job you do, you should always focus on communication skills. I think that's an essential skill for anyone. Again, it's not an answer to your question. I can't think of a good answer to your question. Like a recommendation I had, which I shouldn't have done. Yeah, sorry, I can't think of anything. Yeah.
No regrets, no nothing.
I think you should never have regrets because every bad thing you've done in your life is a lesson for the future. So I've been in sticky situations in my life where either I made a mistake or I was at the wrong place at the wrong time or I didn't like my boss or I did whatever. But all these difficult moments brought me to where I am today. So they were essential to my personal development. Yeah. And back then I was suffering. I was not happy. I was miserable. I was sad. I was like, oh, I wish I wasn't there. I wish I made that mistake. I wish I didn't do that thing. But today I have zero regrets because all these negative moments brought me to where I am, right? So I think in life in general, you should never have regrets, ever, for anything.
Amazing.
Agreed.
Coming back to our subject, because you are going to help early stage entrepreneurs, and OnlyFounders, you're helping early stage entrepreneurs bridge the gap between the student life, the entrepreneur life, when they want to go into that business life, but it's so intimidating, it's so difficult, and the business world in a way. What general tips would you give to people who are just want to get started? They're seeing this overload of information, this overload of things. Like we talked, for example, and we'll talk about it a little bit deeper later, about LinkedIn, that is kind of really intimidating, but it's a really powerful platform. What would you give as tips for people who just want to get started, but they don't know where to go?
Yeah, so as you said, I think LinkedIn is a great place to start. I think you should spend a lot of time on LinkedIn just to understand it better, to understand how it works, understand what people respond to, and most importantly, build your personal brand. So if you're a young student, a young entrepreneur, you might not have 20 years of experience on your resume, so there's not like, or on your CV, it's not like there's lots you can talk about on your LinkedIn profile. However, your LinkedIn profile is not just about your business life and your business experience. It's about you as a person. It is your personal brand. And so your headline on LinkedIn should not just be your job title, your company. It should be what you love to do. You know, are you sporty? Do you like, are you a geek? Do you like to travel? Do you like whatever? Put that on your headline so people understand who you are as a person. So really building your personal brand, I think, is super important no matter what you do. It will also help you to present yourself back to networking events. If you build a strong personal brand on LinkedIn, when you introduce yourself to someone, you can go back to that personal brand you've built. So I think personal brand is super important no matter what you do, especially if you're an entrepreneur. If you're a young entrepreneur, you want to build a startup, your personal brand is everything because you're the face of the startup. So that's number one. Number two, if you have an idea for a startup, you've got a vague idea in your head, something you're thinking about, but it's not completely crystallized yet, you don't have a product yet, you're still kind of thinking about it, I think what really helps is to have a strong brand name. So imagine you have an idea for a new product, whatever the product is. Try to think of a cool brand name for that product early on. Because once you have a strong brand name, you invent a new brand name, you can crystallize all your energy and focus on that brand. And when you introduce yourself to other people, say, hey, I'm a young startup founder working on this brand, on this product. You've got a name for it. When you put a name to something, it becomes more concrete in your head. And all your energy and inspiration go towards realizing that product, that dream, that startup to make it real. And so I've got a very strong belief in branding. And so I think when you start working on something, immediately try to get a brand for it. Now, I do have a tip for that. I use a website, which is free, very cool website called leandomainsearch.com, leandomainsearch.com. You go to this website and you type a keyword relevant to your startup idea, whatever your idea is. So let's say you're building a new app for insurance, as an example. Just type the word insure. in that website, leandomainsearch.com. Type insure, and it's going to give you all the domain names in .com which are still available, which contain the word insure, like coolinsure.com or superduperinsure.com or whatever. and you got hundreds and hundreds of them. So go on there until you find a brand name you resonate with. And then you can buy the .com domain name for like £15 a year. It costs nothing. It's very affordable, even for a student. You can afford that. And then you've got your .com domain name, you've got a brand name, and then you can put that on your LinkedIn. And then every time you meet someone at a networking event, you can introduce yourself as the founder of that brand name. And it just makes it so much more powerful for you to believe in what you're doing and for you to crystallize your energy towards making that brand name a real product, a real solution. So really, I think that's a great advice for young startup founders to crystallize their energy and idea on a specific brand name. It just makes everything flow towards that, and your whole mental focus will crystallize that idea.
You talked about LinkedIn, the first point. Why? Why is LinkedIn important? And let's take it from a student's perspective. Someone who has never used LinkedIn, he sees it as an intimidating platform that is so weird, not really user experience good for the users in a way. And why should he use it? And also, what are some things that general people don't know about LinkedIn? I'm talking about, for example, some of the categorizations and the searching mechanisms that when I first joined LinkedIn, and Maria as well, we just didn't know anything about it.
I hated it. I downloaded it. I had 33 connections, and I was like, nope, I don't understand this. I don't want to use it. Like, nope. Until like a couple weeks back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so LinkedIn, obviously the user interface of LinkedIn is very bland and corporate. It's not fun like TikTok and Instagram. Yeah. It's definitely designed by corporate people for corporate people. So it looks a bit dry and boring if you're a young, cool startup founder or student, etc. However, the power of LinkedIn is that it has become the de facto standard for every business professional in the entire world. So that means that if you ever look for a job in any industry, no matter which one it is, the first thing recruiters are going to look at is your LinkedIn profile. If you try to apply to a university, the first thing people are going to look at is your LinkedIn profile. If you try to recruit someone, the first thing they're going to look at is your LinkedIn profile. If you try to hire someone, again, if they want to trust you as a potential boss, what they're going to do? They're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. So pretty much any business you're ever going to do in your life will revolve around people checking out your LinkedIn. And so your personal brand on LinkedIn is so important. So whether you think LinkedIn is a crappy user interface, it doesn't really matter. You have to use it. Like it is. The beauty of it is free to use. So really, there's no cost to you in terms of money. It's just a bit of time to make sure you've got a good picture on there, you've got a great tagline, you make sure you put a bit of personality on there, because everyone is going to check your LinkedIn. Now, if you're a startup founder, it's even more important because you want to hire people to join you, potential co-founders. Mm-hmm. They're going to check your LinkedIn, so it better be good, right? Yeah. If you want to get some investors, they're going to check your LinkedIn. Again, it better be good. If you're going to try to find clients as a startup founder, they're going to check your LinkedIn, so it better be good. So again, there's so many reasons you really want to use LinkedIn. Now, you talked about having only 33 connections when you joined. Now, connections on LinkedIn are not the same as Facebook friends. On Facebook friends, you only want to friend people you actually know who are real friends, because you don't want some weird random creeps being your friends on Facebook. That would be weird because they would see everything you do, right? But on LinkedIn, it's the opposite. On LinkedIn, you do want to have as many connections as possible, even people you don't know, because you want to have that network effect of being connected to as many people as possible. So all these people, you could interact with them, you can message them, they can message you, and more importantly, one day in a couple of years, you're going to want to message a very senior person in a big company to work with you on your startup. Well, if you're connected to 200 people who know that person, they're going to be much more willing to accept your message because they're going to see which connections you have in common with them. Whereas if you've got very few connections, it's very unlikely you'll be connected to someone who's connected to that person you're trying to reach. And so it is in your best interest to connect to as many people as possible on LinkedIn, even people you don't know, just to grow your network. So that's my advice to you. Spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, even if you don't like the user interface, get used to it, improve your personal brand on it, and connect to as many people as possible. It will play in your favor. It's going to make your life so much easier, and you're going to be super happy for it.
And you have 25,000 followers on LinkedIn, if I'm right.
Right. Nearly 26,000. It's growing every day, right?
Ooh, nice. We love that. I love it.
How did you get there? And Tell us a little bit more about the content strategy, about, let's say, the algorithm and how LinkedIn works.
Yeah, and to be honest, lots of it is due to networking. So I've been to more than 1,000 networking events in London over the last 8 years. So every networking event I go to, I try to meet people in person and of course connect with them right there and then when I meet them in person. So a big chunk of that are people I've actually met face to face at all these events. And then I do some searches on LinkedIn for people who are relevant to my industry or my target base, or potential business partners. So I search for them on LinkedIn. When you search on LinkedIn, you can search by keyword, by industry, by location, by job title. So do those searches, find relevant people, and just click on connect to try to connect with them, to add more connections. So I've done a lot of that. And then obviously over time, you start to build a big following, and then people start to connect with you. You get lots of external people who you've never heard of who are trying to connect with you. And I usually accept most of them, as long as they're in my geographical remit. So right now I only focus on Europe and the US. So I would accept any connection from Europe and the US. If I get connections from Asia, usually at the moment I don't accept them, simply because I don't have any business in Asia at the moment, and I'm not planning to work on that market for now. So in a couple of years, I probably will focus on Asia, and at that point I will start accepting requests in Asia. But right now I'm focused just on Europe and the US at the moment. So yeah, that's why I got 25,000, just meeting lots of people in person, proactively finding people I can connect with in my industry, connecting with them, and that's about it. Yeah.
For you, how do you start building your profile? Because obviously we understood that it's not as Instagram. So I'm not posting my vacation every single time or going out. So how do I start building it? How do I create it? What do people like to see? What do I write in it?
Yeah, so there's two things. First of all, there's your personal brand, which is your profile. And that's something you do once, so it's really good. And then separately from that, you post every day or every week stuff you're working on. So these are two separate things. Okay. So before you start posting stuff on LinkedIn on a regular basis, first work on your personal brand, which is your basic profile. So make sure there's a good picture of you, a cool background, make sure there's a good headline describing who you are, what you like to work on. Make sure your job experience is on there. Make sure you put a friendly little paragraph to say, hey, thanks for stopping by my profile. I love to help other startups with their entrepreneurship questions. I love to help young founders with OnlyFounders. Try to make it fun for people to read your profile. So really work on that first. Once you've done that, then you can start posting on a regular basis. Now, you can post every day, once a week, 3 times a week. That's up to you. The stuff you post about typically would be how you've helped other people in your industry. So if you've worked with a startup founder, hey, I'll help this startup founder achieve this or that, write about that. If you went to an interesting event and you've got a unique insight or feedback about that event, post a picture of you at the event and write about that. So I would say, as long as it's kind of related to your business and to your industry, post about it, right? People love to hear personal stories and see pictures of you in front of different speakers, backgrounds, events, and anything you're working on. People love behind the scenes, right? So say what you're working on. So for example, this podcast we're doing right now, make sure you post not the podcast itself, make a post about how you recorded this podcast. Like, hey, I spent my Sunday afternoon with 3 random people in a room in Aldgate recording a podcast, right? And show a picture. So really kind of behind the scenes. People love behind the scenes. I think that's always relevant and interesting. So really anything you can post which will bring value. So recommendations, advice, stuff you learn. Like if you went to an event and it was a 3-hour event, but just one sentence came out of that event saying, oh, that was interesting. Just write that one sentence which came out of it. Like really your personal takeouts from those events. People love that. I think that really resonates and shows that you've spent 3 hours to analyze what came out of it as one single sentence. I think that's always useful.
Okay. Coming back to posts, I scroll on LinkedIn. I don't like it, but I do it. And there's a lot of people being like more feelings focused, and there's some others that are like more case studies and more logical. How is that? How do I know which one is for me? Because personally, I'm more into like feelings and emotions, and I like people watching real stuff, like real feelings, raw emotions. But I feel like LinkedIn is not the platform for it.
I think it's a mix. So LinkedIn has some stuff which is very numbers focused, some stuff is very emotionally focused, and there's a bit of both. So again, it's not one size fits all, right? As you said, you prefer emotional stuff, other people prefer number stuff, and some people like both. I know everyone's different. And so the best thing you can do is post a bit of both. Post some stuff about your emotions and post some stuff about numbers or achievements or business stuff you've done. And you're going to appeal to different audiences. So yeah, my advice, do a bit of everything, right? See what sticks, see what you like to do. Yeah, and if you don't enjoy LinkedIn, maybe you haven't followed the right influencers on LinkedIn, which write stuff you find interesting or relevant. LinkedIn is 1 billion people. That's a lot of people. And out of those 1 billion people, it's probably 50 million who post stuff. So try to find a few people who you do find interesting, follow them. So in your feed, you're going to start to see more interesting stuff relevant to you, right? I'm sure you'll find at least one person who says interesting stuff for you. You just have to find those people and follow them, right?
Interesting. Give us some tools within LinkedIn itself that the normal person who just started using LinkedIn doesn't know about.
Yeah, so some people use some third-party plugins to automate LinkedIn, right? And there's lots of people around me that use special tools and apps which do some to scan LinkedIn to find relevant people and send them automated messages and reply automatically to 200 people at once and all that stuff. I'm totally against it. I don't use any automation tool whatsoever. I send every single message manually, one by one. And the reason I do that is because of authenticity. People hate automated messages. People hate cold outbound messages, which is generated by AI. People absolutely hate that. So I'm anti-AI when it comes to messaging people one-to-one. And my personal brand is, of course, the networker, the king of networking, the king of introductions. And so it's all about human to human. I use zero AI on my startup Introstars. It's all human to human. And so when I message someone on LinkedIn, I reach out to them, hey, how could I help you? Can you check out Introstars and let me know what you think? I would never copy and paste that message. I really write it every single time, word by word, one-to-one to every person I reach out to because I want to sound authentic. As a startup founder, I'm building my personal brand. And so even though there's hundreds of automation tools on LinkedIn, I do not use a single one of them. I do everything manually. Now, what can you use as a startup founder is LinkedIn search, which is extremely powerful. So if you go to LinkedIn search, the search bar on top, very basic, just type keywords relevant to your target market, your target audience, whether it's a job title, an industry, a location, and play around with the search feature of LinkedIn. There's filters you can use as well to find the ideal people you're trying to connect with, whether it's potential customers, potential investors, potential people you want to recruit, potential business partners. Really, I think LinkedIn search is the golden tool which everyone should use more of. And I think when you launch LinkedIn for the first time and you're not used to it, you probably don't use search enough. Use the search tool, use the filters, find interesting people you want to connect with, click on connect, and if they accept your request, send them a quick message, personal message, not automated, to say hello. Keep it short. Don't send a 5-paragraph message. No one's going to read it. Just say, hi, love your profile. Let's go for coffee. Bam. That's it. And that's the way to do it.
Amazing. And how much content do you post every week, let's say? And what is the scheduling process behind it? Because you post quite a lot. And from my personal experience, I've been through in LinkedIn, I think, for the past maximum year. I've gained interest in the past maximum year. And it became sometimes exhausting. Sometimes it's tiring. Sometimes I don't know what am I going to talk about anymore.
Yeah. And so my view on this is post as much as you can. I would say the maximum is 1 post per day. Don't try to do more than 1 post per day. So in the perfect world, you want to post 6 posts a week, so Monday to Saturday. You don't have to post Sunday. I usually post 5 days a week. I usually do Monday to Friday. That's what I usually do. Sometimes I don't post on Friday and I post on Saturday instead. So I try to stay to my 5 posts a week. That's what I do. Now, some people are super organized and prepare to post like a month in advance and use a scheduling tool to post automatically every day at 11 a.m., for example. I don't do that personally. I literally write every single day on the day. I improvise on the day. So I wake up on a Tuesday morning and say, what am I going to talk about today? And I come up with it on the day. I write it right there and then, and I post it right away. That's the way I do it. I'm not saying it's the good way to do it. There's no right and wrong. Most people, again, prepare maybe 10 posts in advance and schedule them so it's all posted automatically. There's no right and wrong. It's a great method as well. I just like to get inspiration on the day. I feel inspiration every day. And to be honest, sometimes I'm not inspired. Sometimes I lack inspiration. It happens like everyone. And then what I do is very simple. I just go to LinkedIn and see what other people are writing about, and that gives me inspiration. It's just... I don't copy what they do, but it's kind of a type of post. Is it a survey? Is it a question? Is it a topic I haven't talked about yet? And then I go to so many networking events. Every networking event I go to is a topic for LinkedIn. Say, hey, I went to this cool event. I met this cool person. This is what we talked about, right? And that's what I do as well. So again, that's the way I do it. And then for images, you can obviously use ChatGPT and DALL-E to generate images, or there's lots of other tools out there. So I use a lot of that. But then you can also obviously take pictures of yourself or selfies. And I've noticed when I do a selfie, it generates 10 times more views than when I use a ChatGPT image.
I told you that before.
Yeah, I know that. But then sometimes I still use ChatGPT because sometimes I want to show a picture which shows a very specific thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't have that around me. And so I've also experimented with doing a mix of both, where I do use a ChatGPT image as my virtual background, but with my real face in front of it.
Yeah.
So I experimented a bit with that. I also played around with having a ChatGPT image on my computer screen, but I take a picture of me next to my computer. So you see my face on the computer screen next to me. So I try different things, right? But I think, people prefer authenticity, right? And so ChatGPT images will never perform as well as real photos. But it's just, again, sometimes it's a bad hair day. I just want to show my face, right?
Amazing. You talked about a really important subject around. I'm really surprised that you don't schedule your posts. I mean, okay, not using the AI tools.
No, I'm all in. I also don't schedule. I don't like it. I hate it. I feel like it's not real. I'm like, no. If I'm going to write something, I'm going to write it there and there. If not, I don't write anything.
Yeah, a lot of people, I understand the point of not understanding automated tools, but I'm really impressed by the fact that you don't even schedule your posts. And that brings me to the question, what is your day routine as an entrepreneur? How do you organize your day? Maybe you can go deeper into the week or the month if there's a context with it.
To be honest, none of my days look the same. I don't have a schedule which is the same every day or every week. And so I'm very serendipitous. I see how things kind of work out organically. I meet people at networking events. I say, hey, let's go for coffee in a couple of days. I see when there's an opening in my calendar and just add a meeting there. I reach out to people on LinkedIn, say, hey, let's go for coffee, do a Zoom call. Again, I see when there's a space in my calendar, add it there. And so really, all these meetings are popping up in my calendar in a completely random way. And so my calendar is completely different every single day. There's no standard formula. There's no standard schedule. I don't wake up at the same time every day. I don't go to bed every time every day at the same time. And so every day is different. I know many other founders are super organized. They wake up at 5 a.m. every day. They work out for an hour. They go to bed at 9 p.m. every day. I'm the complete opposite of that. I'm super disorganized. I wake up whenever I wake up. I go to bed whenever I go to bed. I go to 5 network events till 3 in the morning. I don't care. I work on Saturdays and Sundays. Doesn't matter. And kind of I work in this completely disorganized, serendipitous life. And that works for me. It actually works for me. I really enjoy that. The fact I don't have a schedule, I don't have a structure. Even my eating patterns are very strange. Most people eat at 12 p.m. every day or lunch, whatever. Most of my days, my first meal of the day is 4:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. or whatever. Completely different every single day. So I do not have a schedule for anything, not even eating. Right? And I enjoy that. I think it's great because I think every day is a surprise. Every day is a gift. Every day is magical. Every day I leave space for weird things to happen because I don't have a routine. So now again, this goes against so many advisors and mentors who say you should wake up every day at the same time. You should go to the gym every day at the same time. Like, I just don't do that. I just think, everyone's life is different. Sometimes, of course, it bites me in the ass. Sometimes I should go to bed earlier. Sometimes, I can't wake up in the morning. Sometimes I feel tired. Sometimes, maybe I didn't have a good meal or whatever. So again, there's drawbacks to that, of course, right? There is massive benefits of having a routine and wake up every day at the same time. So of course, there's pros and cons to everything in life. It's a compromise. It's just where I am in my life is every day is different. And I just enjoy the process where every night before I go to bed, I check my schedule for the next day. So, how's my day tomorrow? And it's kind of always a surprise.
So how do you deal with procrastination and unproductivity? I started journaling a little bit more than a year ago, and it helped me reflect a bit about the things that I said I want to do, but I forgot about because I was procrastinating, or it was so uncomfortable for my body that I just didn't want to do them. Not having a plan may come with a drawback of you losing a bit of self-awareness sometimes about the things that you need to do, but you don't want to be doing. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think every human being procrastinates. I think it's human nature to always push back what you don't want to do. So it's not a lack of willpower. It's not a sign that that you're weak or anything like that. I think it's part of our DNA, of our genes, to be as lazy as possible and procrastinate as much as possible. So when there's something you need to do, but it's something you don't like to do, it's very likely you're going to procrastinate. And so I do a bunch of to-do lists. I've got to-do lists of stuff I need to do. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to work on it right away, but it means at least it's on my to-do list, on my radar. I know I have to do it. To give you an example, submitting my expenses for my tax report, my tax returns for my company, that's something I procrastinate on because I've got hundreds of them. And I know it's going to take me hours to put it in my accounting software. And so that's something I need to do, but I keep procrastinating, I keep pushing it back. Now, I've already done some of it. So again, I do work on it, but clearly that's low on my priority list because I know it's boring and it's very dry. But that's one of the examples of stuff I procrastinate about. But then other stuff, like posting on LinkedIn, I know I need to do it every day. So I need to kind of get that discipline to do it every single day. So yeah, I think it's a mix. Have a to-do list, make sure you go back to it every day, see what's still on there, and try to bring forward stuff you don't like to do once in a while. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been quite a journey for you since little Mike doing programming and being introvert. And I just have a final question. What would you tell him? What advice, if you could, would you tell little Mike introvert? What would you tell him?
I mean, if I could meet little Mike today, I would tell him, go outside of your comfort zone, go and play outside, try to be more extrovert, be nice to your friends, try to be more of a socialite. Even if you feel like it's against your nature, you want to be in front of a computer screen all day, actually, try to be more outside, be with other people, play with other friends, do some sports. I think that's the biggest advice I would tell to Mike, be more sporty. Because that will pay off. I think, that's the advice. More sports, more social skills, go more outside. Because whatever you're going to do in life, your social skills are going to be the most important factor of success.
Amazing. I wish I could keep talking for another hour or two. I'm sure that we're going to still keep talking. I feel really inspired and impressed, and I hope the community is feeling that way as well. We have somehow of a routine that you do at the end of every podcast. Since you're really interested about the diary of a CEO and how he does his podcast, we bought his conversation cards from some of the speakers there, and to end every podcast, you want to choose randomly one of the questions, and then that would be the last question of the podcast.
Okay, thank you, Stephen Bartlett. Let's see what he's got to say to me today. Oops, I'll take the whole box. Let's do it. There you go. Picked a card.
Amazing. The person you cherish the most in life dies tomorrow. You have a 60 seconds phone call with them. What do you tell them?
I think there's really only one thing I could tell to them is, I love you. That's the only thing I could ever say to someone you cherish a lot. And to be honest, I want to love everyone around me. I think caring about other people and caring about their well-being and their happiness is the best thing you can do. And by loving other people, you're going to be more happy yourself as well, right? So it's not really selfish to love other people.
Amazing. Really inspiring. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this new podcast and hope to see you in another podcast with different guests, hopefully as interesting as Mike Adams today.
Same host, though.
And have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to speak to you.
Amazing. Really appreciate it.